What's up guys, it's Daz here, but you don't really care, as it's time for another video. And what should the video be about? Well, I recently got a message from the Dopen. I don't know why I gave him that voice. Sorry about that. Anyway, his message is 3 print screenshots large. Like 3 screenshots of this, like wow. But that's beside the point, you don't really care about that. Anyway, his message was talking about the backstory of Pikmin as a whole, like what happened before Pikmin that made it Pikmin, the planet more specifically, like where are the humans, because clearly it's going to be Earth, but where's the stuff? So that's what I'm going to be going over. Most of the things I'm going to say in this video is, most of it will be like the Dopen's, not exactly his exact wordings, but it's like his ideas, so yeah. Just thought I'd throw that in there in case that wasn't obvious enough with the whole message thingy. Yeah. Anyway, let's begin. So I think it's fair to say that the Pikmin planet is Earth. However, most of the life forms are not at all like the ones that we live on nowadays, you know what I mean? Like, most of them are insects, but there are a few reptiles, and even some robotic amalgamations like the Gatling Groink and the Man at Legs. And there are also some aquatic enemies which haven't really gone through much mutation, well at least not like through appearance anyway, like the Hermit Crawmad and the different spotted jelly floats. But why is this? Well, basically, the Dopen's idea is that when the humans were living on this planet, obviously they didn't like each other very much, kind of like how it is now, if you know what I mean. And what I mean more, if this, all the nuclear weapons that have been practiced so far could destroy Earth 7 times over. Alright, enough of that. Anyway, so basically these nuclear weapons were so devastating that like it even like would mess up the planet's like axis, because you know how Earth's on its axis, and it could also make the Earth spin faster, which is why like I think it's only like 20-ish minutes that a Pikmin Earth day lasts. Does that make sense? Yeah, it is. So because of this explosion, the only animal life that would survive would be insects and some smaller reptiles, and so everything else just sort of adapted from there, and like including plant life, which, you know, there's still a bit, you know, you don't want to eat it, although Louis can, don't know why. Actually, I'll come back to that later. But yes, so because of this like explosion and mutation, the whole of like evolution has just completely gone out, well, not gone out the window, just thrown out the window, sprouted some wings, and then flown back in. So like obviously evolution's gone a lot faster, and also this will also explain like the seasons, like how there will be an unbalance in the, or imbalance, or whatever the correct word is, in the atmosphere or something like that, he says in brackets, making the seasons change sporadically and completely unrelated to geographical position, which is kind of wrong because in the game, you know, there's like winter in the Valley of Repose and then it's autumn in the Wistful Wind. So yeah, so it's sort of like almost as if seasons don't change at all, but I'm not sure if that's physically possible. But you know, when maybe one of you's a scientist, or at least knows a bit more science than I do, and can write it in the comments. Thank you very much if you're actually listening to this. Anyway, so these mutations caused by the nuclear fallout will have caused the change in evolution to basically go into overdrive, and any like plants that were still there would have started growing much more rapidly, and like especially with like the creatures like the Mamuta and the swooping snitch bug, they would have obviously helped plant life, and guess what comes with plant life? Pikmin. Anyway, that's still future, but yeah. Why am I keep jumping into the future? It's because I am Michael J. Fox. Ha! Anyway, so going back to plant life, because of this evolution change in nuclear stuff, the plants will obviously learn how to absorb and like resist the radiation given off by the nuclear fallout, and will also like maybe even involve some creatures which are partially animal and partially plant, and that, my friends, brings you the Pikmin. Most animals seem to not really be much larger than like 30-40 centimeters, while that's like the big enemy, like you know the one I'm talking about, yeah. But like most of them are like 5 to 10 centimeters, really, that's about it. I mean, look at Olimar, he's like about the size of a 20p coin, really, because like, imagine if like, wow, this just come to my head, probably came to your head like years ago, but imagine if like a human somehow was to come back into the Pikmin games. Imagine how massive it'd be. I mean, dude. Anyway, I'm going off topic here. So like moving on from plants and like the Pikmin and such, let's move on to the the amalgamations of robotics and animals. You know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the man-at-legs, for example. These seem to be like the most successful life forms, as they've got added protection, even though surprisingly, according to the man-at-legs anyway, it was the mechanical part that actually decided to make the relationship with the animal, which is kind of, I'm not sure how that works anyway. So yeah, but overall, the most successful life form seems to be the Pikmin, mainly because of Olimar showing up and teaching them how to beat a Bulborb by themselves, basically. Well, not by themselves, actually, but more specifically, like, with a group, basically. Basically. But, like, also, what also helps the Pikmin species is the fact that they have all these other species that help them along, if that makes sense. Like, you've got the candy pop bugs, and you've even got the onions, so they're basically, like, I don't know, like teaming up, which is kind of natural, kind of like humans, cats and dogs, in a way anyway. But before they had like the help of the onions, if they even existed before the onions, they probably just grew from the ground like normal plants. It was all evolution that gave them onions somehow. So according to Dodopum, Pikmin takes place thousands of years after this supposed war, so all the, well no, the radiation hasn't gone actually, but the planet has pretty much recovered, and like the new ecosystems have adapted to the radiation and sporadic season changes and such, but the Hogatations seem to not be bothered by the radiation at all. I mean, going back to the future, Louis, as I mentioned earlier, has no problems with eating the common glowcap, even though it's probably contains radioactive material on the verge of critical mass, that's some fancy wording. Anyway, so it's clear that their physiology is completely different from ours, since oxygen is poisonous to them. So it's possible that they have extreme resistance to radiation, and this goes back to one of the ship parts in Olimar's dolphin. He said that it randomly went off, and in real life it's actually an indicator of radiation, but it could also be an indicator of oxygen, so it's sort of, and I think in the Pikmin game it's always like really high, so obviously there's either lots of oxygen, which makes sense, or there's a lot of radiation, which also makes sense. So yes, I'm sort of tying this all together. You see what I'm doing there? Just tying the knot, but without the kiss. Anyway, so when Olimar first encountered the Pikmin, he was very dominant, forcing the Pikmin to help him, while also helping them coordinate and flourish. Although actually I'm going to contradict you there. The Pikmin are willing to do it. Olimar just sort of found them, and it just sort of worked. I don't really think he forced them to. He's not like, get back in your I don't know, I'm not even going to go there. Anyway, so as well as battling for their main rivals in the ecosystem, the grub dogs, this combined with the fact that he didn't really pose a threat, made the Pikmin accept him as a life form, and obviously any new Hogatations that show up, which wanted to engage in a symbiotic relationship with them, like so many others. So the Pikmin this also helped Pikmin, as they had like relationships with the Hogatations, which were like us, but really small. Now, the Dopin's guess is that the trip between Hogatate and Earth takes a week or two, which would explain the drastic change between Pikmin 1 and 2, but thanks to Nintendo logic, it doesn't change when you leave to Hogatate to give back the treasure, but you find out Louie's missing, and then you go back and nothing's changed. But hey, that's Nintendo logic. Of course it hasn't stopped. Anyway, so that's basically it for this whole backstory of evolution. And I think, well, the Dopin thinks that it does answer most of the questions about Pikmin 2 without leaving too many plot holes. I think the only problem was the whole Nintendo logic, but you know, Nintendo logic kind of makes sense of the whole Nintendo logic, you know? Does it sound like I just audio taped that Nintendo logic? I don't think it did. Anyway, so most of those can probably be explained through retconning and game mechanics. Okay, there are some enemy types worth mentioning though. The blowhogs seem to be the only type of enemy related to mammals in the actual game. They probably evolved from small rodents, I know, isn't that just lovely, that survived the war, of course. The withering blowhog is particularly confusing though, since it wilts flowers instead of aiding them, but I think this is probably developing the skill that, you know, Pikmin and the plants were just getting so strong that they need to have, you know, they obviously didn't make a symbiotic relationship and decided to kill them all by deflowerizing them. Not the best choice of words, is it? Anyway, the Snagrit, or Snagrit, or however you're supposed to pronounce it, I think it is Snagrit since it's a snake and an egret, anyway, are simply birds that devolved back into the reptilian state to avoid radiation, which is that even possible? Well, you never know. Anyway, I mean, we can't exactly find out, can we? The Mamuta might have been created by man, more specifically by people who created the devastating results of the war, and created a life form that would help to restore the planet to its former glory after it was over. They might also have been sent by aliens for the same reason. Okay, or maybe they just evolved to help plants like everyone else, I don't know. And now, the one that's really confusing. The water wraith well, it can be anything really. The simplest explanation is that it is simply the next evolutionary stage of the Gulix, but the Gulix was always there. You could always like walk into it and such, but like the water wraith is like in 2 different dimensions, so it's really, really weird really. I guess it's just something that popped out of Miyamoto's head, you know, it's like, oh, here you go, water wraith, blah, 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 blah. It might also be actually a wraith, a physical form created by human who lost their lives in the war. It might even be a toy gone wild. Not gonna comment. This one is just too weird to explain, so let's move on. The Smokey Probe, remember that from Pikmin 1? It might be some kind of corrupted life form completely destroyed by the radiation, spreading pollution everywhere, according to Dodopen. It might even try to purposely return to its planet's former ruined state, which is why they target the Pikmin, them being an important part of the ecosystem. And also it turns out the Smokey Probe came from a massive egg, like everything else almost, I think. Stop thinking, Daryl, really, just stop. And it actually would have become a Mamuta, so it's basically like the unborn fetus baby of a Mamuta somehow. So somehow a frog turned into a blob, not really sure. So maybe it's because it's obviously a corrupted life form. So, and why it attacks the Pikmin directly, it's either, yeah, I'm not actually sure really. Maybe it's because it's so corrupt, because Mamutas usually love plants, they love the flowers, and maybe either it's because Pikmin are usually the ones that break the egg, that's why the Smokey Probe attacks Pikmin, or maybe it's because it's so corrupted, it hates the things that it's supposed to love. So that's basically the end of it. Let's hear your thoughts. He's actually saying, Dodopen's actually saying that to me, but I'm saying it to you. Let's hear your thoughts about the backstory of the Pikmin series. Since I obviously find stuff like this fun, and if you comment, then I'm going to assume you do too, and who knows, maybe I'll even start a conversation with you, based on the comments of your channel. Yeah, I wasn't supposed to read that bit, was I? Nope. However, do not feel obliged to make this a video if you don't want to, although I would appreciate it. By Dupless. Alrighty. So, with that, we end the video. I hope you like the animation, which I haven't put in yet, but I will in due time. If you like this video, like it. I'm not going to say any more, because you know what the rest of that usually is. It's like, I can't even say that, because then you'll know what I'm saying that I wasn't going to say when I said it, you see. So, with that, we end the video. Wow, we've gotten to 30. Oh, damn, I thought it was 13:37. Nope, 10 seconds off. But oh well, so I'm trying to end this video desperately. So, my name's been Daz. You didn't really care. Let's hear your backstory theories in the comments, and I'll see you in a bit.